No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to die. Hello. I don't know. It seemed funnier in my head, you know. We're thinking of doing some sketches, but I think I might need some work on them. So, hello everyone, and welcome to... I'm making sure the stream is working. Yes, it is. Everyone's saying, what on earth? Well, you know, sometimes you got to try these things. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Book Room Comedy Club. I am your host, Zoe Kirk-Robinson, and you may notice that we are once again not in the book room. Now, again, it is because Jen is building her little model of North Wales, and she's doing a very good job of it. You know, it's very good. Oh yes, it's very good, very and all of that kind of poshness. But the reason that we're not there is not this time because she's hoping that we won't scare all of her little fake animals. It's not because she's just added fake water and she doesn't want her fake people to drown. None of that. She's not even claiming any of that this week. She's gone for a completely different tactic. This time her new strategy is she has simply covered the entire room in electronics. It's something to do with wiring and adding a new controller to it and all this stuff. But to be honest with you, all it's really done is festoon the area with so many electronics that it's not possible to safely conduct any form of human socialization within the confines of that area. So we're a bit stuck. Basically, I got to the point where I'm staying up here because I have a feeling if I go downstairs just after the show to make a cup of tea, there is a 50-50 chance that because the room looks like an explosion from Doc Brown's lab, we might find there's a DeLorean parked next to our books. And I'm not sure I really want that, because just imagine that. You go downstairs and there's a car in your dining room. I'm not sure that's going to look well when I have to go to the insurers. Do you think it'll work? Do you think they'll accept that as an excuse? I'm not convinced that collision with vehicles from the land of make-believe is one of the boxes on their insurance claim forms, you know? I mean, I'll try. I'll give it a try, but I don't think it's going to happen. Now, of course, remember, this is the Book Room Comedy Club, so if you have any questions for the Q&A that we'll do at the end, you can ask anything. I'll try and make a funny response for it. We'll see what happens. Please do leave them in the comments. We'll get to them at the end. That would be great. But I have to say, this week, I have been issued with a challenge. Now, don't worry, it's not a duel. I'm not going to have to get pistols at dawn or take my sword out and defend my honour. Nothing like that. Instead, no one's going to lose an eye, was what I'm saying, basically. No one's going to lose an eye, no matter how many fun and games we have. But instead, what's actually going to happen is one of my lovely Patreon backers, Chief89, he has challenged me to do a routine on gaming, so video games, that kind of thing. Now, I don't know where he got the idea that I love games. I mean, I don't talk about it much. It's not something that really comes up in general conversation, you know. I don't flaunt my hobbies. It's just this thing. I rarely even mention it. I would certainly never build some kind of shrine to gaming and then sit in front of it for a live stream or a comedy or anything like that. He must be psychic. But yes, since he asked, I will admit it. The cat is now out of the bag. I rather enjoy video games. I love them. You give me a game and I'm probably going to be very, very happy. In fact, when I wrote this bit of the jokes on my phone, because I always like to write down my routine first of all and then try and learn it. When I wrote this joke, and I said that I would be happy if someone gave me a game, the phone auto-corrected happy to Halo. That's how much I like games. It's a recent addition, let's put it that way. It's a bit concerning, but the phone does know me quite well. But I have noticed something very strange, and I want to talk to you about it tonight because I think it's something that's worth our concern, you know. We know this from many reports. Games can change your brain. They alter your brain, and I don't mean in video games can rot your mind. The tabloids coming out like Freddy Starr's hamster died from playing Halo, that kind of thing. With nothing like that. But video games do alter your brain in subtle, scary ways. And I've noticed that my behaviours in the real world have actually changed because of my actions and experiences in video games. Now I want to share this with you. I noticed this first time when I was out for a walk, because when you sit around on your backside in your big chair playing your computer games for long periods of time, it's essential that you get up and have some movement. I've been told this many times by doctors. You have to get up and go and get some exercise, otherwise your legs atrophy and they fall off. So, true facts. I haven't made that up whatsoever. True facts. So, I was out the other day because I like to get out and do a bit of exercise. It keeps me moving, you know. And after, let's face it, after 7 months of being stuck in the house from the pandemic, you kind of want a change of scenery. So, while I was out, I spotted some barrels. Someone had just dumped some barrels by the side of the little path that I was on. And I know what you're thinking when you hear about that. Someone's dumped some barrels, but that's fly tipping. Just think of all the problems that could cause. Just think of all the environmental hazards that could be created because of fly tipping barrels. And then you end up with an argument in your head. You conjure this this kind of scenario in your brain where you are going at this person and firing off your self-righteous anger, making yourself feel like the eco-warrior that you kind of are in your head. That this person is bad, and leaving these things around, it's selfish and it's wrong. That's what the average person might think. You get that scenario in your head. The average person does. I didn't. None of that occurred to me while I was seeing these barrels. What occurred to me was, oh, there's some barrels over there. I better be careful with them. I better not get too close, because if I knock them or hit them or kick a stone at them accidentally, well, that might set them off. They might explode. Games like Doom, and it pains me to think about just how old Doom is now, but old games like Doom and, oh my goodness, you know, I still think that the year 2000 was just about now. My brain, the clock in my brain is stuck at 2000. 1990 was 10 years ago, and Doom to me is still a fairly recent game. But it's not. It's an old game now. So old games like Doom, they've got a lot to answer for. Let's put it that way. They've conditioned us to see the world in a certain way and interact with it in that similar way. Barrels explode in Doom if you hit them. So you have to avoid barrels. Barrels are dangerous. But Doom has also done other things. Because, for example, the way that Doom goes, their core mechanic is you have to defeat a lot of monsters. So you'll have enemies lurking around every single corner. You have to be really, really careful. You have to be on your toes, and you cannot possibly touch anything in case a wall disappears and the legions of hell come pouring out. You've got to be wary of your surroundings at all times. So, thanks to Doom, I now don't like going into areas I'm not familiar with in case monsters attack me. Thanks to Doom, I don't like to accidentally press a button that I don't know exactly what it's going to do in case all hell literally breaks loose. So I try to steer clear of switches, and basically what I'm saying is, if you ever want me to turn the lights on in somewhere, you better point to exactly which switch I have to press, otherwise that ain't getting flicked, because I am not, under any circumstances, going to be responsible for sucking everyone into the furthest depths of hell. I would never hear the end of it, and I don't want that. So, I was there basically thinking maybe we should actually use Doom and games like it to teach children not to touch things that they shouldn't be touching. For example, whenever you tell a kid not to touch something, and given that Jen keeps bleep bleep bleeping in her attic, it makes me feel like someone is already there doing just this. But when you tell a child not to touch something, I think we all know what's going to happen, don't we? Those little sticky fingers, they're going to touch exactly what you told them you shouldn't be touching, because they need to know what it does. So, I say, let's take those games that we have, you know, all of the old games, the ones that taught us how to deal with all of these things, and we get kids to play them. We make them play them, And then they too will be scared of touching anything in case monsters come out and cause all kinds of problems for them. I think that would be great, because then we could teach children. Let's face it, all those public service announcements that we've all seen, matches never touch, and then the kids went and lit them anyway. Don't stick your fingers in the socket, it's not nice. Don't lick the radiator, that kind of thing. Those old PSAs. Then didn't work. We're still having to use them. We're still having to tell kids all the time. They're still going to hospital. So get them on Doom. Show them exactly what the consequences are in a safe, controlled environment. And by safe and controlled, I basically mean we'll scar them psychologically instead of physically, because that way they can't photograph the evidence. Safe and controlled. If we can't see it, doesn't happen. But yeah, games have really skewed our worldviews, don't you think? For example, if you're in an average type of game that I play, like an adventure game or an action game, and you find yourself short on cash, you just wander out into the wilderness and fight some bandits or the local wildlife if there's no bandits around, until you've got the amount of cash that you need. It kind of skews how you see the world, because the thing is, when you do this, in most games, you can go out there and slaughter the local environment. And no one will bat an eyelid. No one's going to write to Greenpeace. No one's going to be coming out with animal welfare stickers or anything like that to try and stop the latest weird massacring person from going on a rampage. None of that happens. So I kind of like that. No one calls you out on it, so it must be all right. You can lay waste to an entire ecosystem, and it's just fine and dandy. It's just what happens. But in the real world, that can't ever work. You would find that at the very least someone's going to mention you on Twitter and try and start a pile-on. There might be a hashtag or two if you tried that in the real world. But when you're off in the land of Urk or Pangellum or whatever random series of key presses the writers have come up with for the particular environment that you happen to be in this game, they don't care. And just imagine if our world worked like that. So you'd be, I'm sorry, dear, but I seem to be a bit short when it comes to paying our electricity bill this month. So I'm just going to go outside and I'm going to punch some rabbits until I have enough gold and precious metals to be able to afford this bill. Watch out for bandits, dear. Oh, don't worry. I've got that armour that I found on that corpse in the sewer. That'll protect me. Was that the one from the giant, or the random corpse that you found down there and you read his diary and it gave you that quest? The latter. And I know what you're thinking, I know. All of this armour that he had that I stole, it didn't stop him from getting full of arrows. But apparently the moment I picked it up, it was fully repaired. And even though he was 6'7" and weighed 500 pounds, I can still fit his armour and it fits me perfectly. So it's just meant to be. So I'll be fine, don't worry. I'm sure it will be just fine. I don't see this happening. Do you? In the game world, you can collect as much gold as you like from the bodies of your enemies. You can go out and slaughter everyone. As long as it's not in a city, no one is going to be concerned. And then you can take the loot and the plunder from your many murders and you can go back into town and buy whatever you want, and no one will bat an eyelid. Excuse me 1 second. Oh my goodness. And moreover, that gold will be legal tender wherever you go. That sets you up for a lot of disappointment in the real world, let me tell you. Because I'll tell you now, if you wandered into a bank anywhere in the world with a sack full of blood-spewn currency, little coins, it might be gold, but most of it's blood, they're going to ask where you got it. In the game world, no one cares. In the real world, blood-stained coins get you a funny look or two. Let's put it that way. And I would say try this for yourself, but this is the internet, and I know what some of you are like, so don't. Stay safe, keep your riots and your rampages to the game world. Beth says I did get a bit excited, and it kind of went down the wrong thing. But the thing is, it's not just action and adventure games that give you a false idea of how the real world works. Now, I've just mentioned my sister Beth. She likes The Sims, and I have to admit, I like The Sims too. And The Sims is really, really bad at telling you how the world works. Because I have played The Sims, and one of my characters in it decided that they were going to try and make a living as an artist. So they started painting. And the very first painting that they did, having never painted before and having no skills, they sold that painting for money. Real money. An artist managed to get some money that they could then use for groceries. This person was able to take the first painting they had ever made and get enough for it to be able to live. Imagine that. That's setting people up for a wrong idea of how the world works. Because, I'll tell you what, I am an artist, and you can't make a living at it. But in The Sims you can. In The Sims, if you're a painter, you're a writer, you can actually make a living. Don't think if you're a kid learning how the world works from The Sims that you'll be able to do that, because it is going to make you very, very disappointed, and also quite thin and malnourished because it didn't work. It's setting up generations of gamers for disappointment. But, you know, speaking of generations, we have another issue these days, because remember back in the good old days, some of you will remember, some of you won't, because you're one of the younger generation that's going to be set up for disappointment. But in the good old days, people of my generation used to be able to look at those console kids and tell them, you don't know you're born. You can just put that cartridge straight into the console, turn the console on, and you're gaming. We never had that when we were kids. When we were your age, when we wanted to play a game, we had to plan it. If our friends came round, we would have to have agreed beforehand what games we were going to play, so that we had time to load it up and actually have a game or two before they had to go home for their dinner. You just don't know you're born. Again, if you tried that with a modern gamer, they would go, alright, Grandma, how long are we talking here for loading those games up? Oh, could be as much as 5 or 10 minutes. And I'll tell you what, if there was a problem loading the tape, you'd have to rewind and start again. You don't know you're born. That's your problem. 10 minutes, Grandma. That's a luxury. You know, yesterday I bought a game. You might have heard of it. Blood Death Monster Guy 3. Apparently it's very, very good, and I'm looking forward to playing it. I bought it yesterday, and later tonight the download might complete, and I'll be able to play it tomorrow. So, my goodness, 10 minutes just to play a game. That would be amazing. It takes me console 3 minutes to just boot. So we can't use the old phrases anymore. We're going to invent some new ones. Kids these days think that we didn't know we were born, waiting for all our stuff. It's like the world's been turned on its head. And that is before we even start telling them that when we were young, we could use our pocket money to buy a game. A brand new game for £1.99. My goodness, imagine that these days. Imagine telling a kid that on your way home from school you could pop into the local newsagent with your £2 coins and you could get a brand new game from the newsagent. There'd just be a rack of them, and you would look at whatever the covers were and see which ones you fancied, and then you could have your pick. These days you can't get a modern game for that. The only games you can get are a couple of generations old from a specialist second-hand shop. And games that we played as kids that we might want to show our kids, they're at least double the cost that they used to be on eBay and things like that. The world has changed. It's turned on its head. It's topsy-turvy. And did it just go topsy-turvy just to keep us on our toes? I mean, what kind of planet were we living on in the 20th century? Everything was weird. Do you remember that we are essentially the generation that if anyone asked us to draw the outline of a disc, we would show them a square? So, you know, we are maybe not the best at working out what is right and what isn't, you know. So, I don't know. What am I talking about? Have we all gone weird and we just have to learn new things? Because I can't accept that. If that sounds like effort, and I'm just not used to it, man. I'm of the generation where, well, if there's anything that I've learned from games as a gamer, it's that I am right. Because unless game over comes emblazoned in the sky, I must be on the right path. That's what I've learned from games. Well, that and save regularly because you never know when a boss fight's coming. And that's another thing that games don't prepare you for properly. Bosses. Now, in the game world, if you find an autosave point and a few ammo dumps, some health, and maybe even a marker on the floor like a log telling you about what someone else's experiences were, you know there's a boss coming. You can prepare for it. You can get yourself in the zone. In the real world, your boss will just walk in and start talking to you. There's no warning whatsoever. You haven't got time to prep. You just have to be permanently on your toes. And I'm sorry, but no one prepares you properly for that experience. It's just wrong. And don't even get me started with all the other things, because in the game world, you don't get your save game deleted if you make a mistake. But in the real world, that's exactly what happens if you make too big a one. It's not fair, man. It's just cruel. It's just so cruel. But you know what's even more cruel? Some games and the way they make you feel great. They make you feel like you are skilled and amazing. For example, a few weeks ago I was playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and it made me feel brilliant. It made me feel like I had mastered the arts of just being able to skate and do all these tricks. I was amazing. The game had made me feel like I was on top of the skating world. I could do flips, I could do spins, I could do tricks that had weird names that could only have been thought of by people who have regularly fallen off a bit of wood. It's that kind of game, and it made me feel just like if I went out and got a skateboard, I could have a lot of fun on this. So, when you've gone from playing it on a game to trying it in real life, it's quite a jarring experience, and it's jarring in more ways than one. My spine was jarred, my knees were jarred, all kinds of like that, because I had been set up for disappointment. Now, I am no stranger to the skateboard. I had one when I was a kid, and sometimes when I was riding it, I even stood up. So I thought, well, I've mastered the basics. I should be able to do this. And I'll tell you what, when I get the feeling back in my buttocks, I am going down to that shop where I bought that skateboard, and I'm going to let that young whippersnapper behind the counter know what's what. What is a whippersnapper anyway? What's a whipper, and why are young people snapping them? You know, when I was young, I didn't snap my whippers. If I was lucky enough to have a whipper, I would treat it with care and respect. These kids these days, they just don't know. They don't know the value of things. Whippers don't just grow on trees. Or do they? I don't know. But the point is, you have to be more careful with your things. You can't just go out and abuse a glitch to get some duplicates of anything you might have broken. It doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work. Not like in the same way as your old games. Ah, man, I don't even know what I'm talking about sometimes. I'm just looking at the stuff that you guys are saying in the chat, and everyone's talking about Dizzy. Oh, so okay. Let's just say, I think if we learn anything about games, it's how they set you up for a fall when you go back into reality, because every part of a game is just completely different to the way the real world works. Take even the most basic things, for example. In a computer game, you will sometimes, occasionally, be asked to enter a name for your character. And whatever you decide your name is, everyone, literally everyone in the game world will just accept it without question. They will call you it. Doesn't matter who you are, who they are, it doesn't matter. They will accept you for who you are. So you end up with situations like when you go into an adventure and the king or the emperor he comes up to you and says, "My goodness, Thoughtmaster von Guff, only you can help save this land from Valglorganax the Destroyer. You must go and quest. Here, take my sword. Take my sword. This big green sword that's from My Toy Hero. Take it. It is the sword of power. You go out and you defend the land. Only you can do it, Thoughtmaster. There are no others." Do you think when you play a game like that if you did that in the real world, you would get within 20 feet of the head of state? I don't think so, especially especially not if they're downwind. My goodness! But that's how it is. So what I'm basically saying here is, if it was a toss-up between reality and games, I'm gonna choose games. They're more accepting. It's more fun. It's easier to make money, and more than anything else, you can save and undo all of your errors. So, if I ever have the option, I'm going to pick Pac-Man over the Taxman any day. And that is all I've got for you tonight. So, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, and good night. I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson. Let's have a look at what you guys have been saying in the chat room. So, we've got a fair few chats, so let's have a look at what we're talking about here. So, oh, hello. We've got a fair few people in. Hello to North End Sidings, J94. Hello to my lovely wife, Jennifer Kirk. And Southern Train Girl, hi there. My sister Elizabeth's in, along with her family. Hi, Dave. How you doing? And my mum's even here. Oh, my goodness. I should not have been talking about farts and guffs. My mother was in the room. My goodness, I'm going to get told off at Christmas. Hello, hard-working primate. How are you doing? Now we've got some questions coming in. Philip Page says, I love Duke Nukem. Yeah, Duke Nukem was always a bit of a weird one for me, because when I was into games that could run on my PC, it started before Duke Nukem 3D came out. So he was a two-dimensional character, literally 2D, and a side-scrolling, how would you call it, action platformer. And then Duke Nukem 3D came along, and he's using the quotes from The Evil Dead, the films that I had recently found and loved. And I got confused, like, which one came first? Because I never got a game the day it came out. It was always a bit later, and I don't know. It got me confused, so I never really gelled with Duke Nukem 3D, but I did like the 2D ones. They were fun. And we've got Homeworking Primate asking, are you sure Jenny's not building an evil genius lair inside Myneth Tatis? Myneth Tatis is Jen's model of North Wales. Am I sure she's not building an evil genius lair inside it? Well, if she is, she's going to have to get a shrink ray to get inside. It's big, and it's not that big. And let's face it, lockdown has not been kind to any of us, so it's going to have to be an even more powerful shrink ray. And I can say that because she has got to get down the stairs from the loft in order to retaliate from what I've just said, and I think I can run faster. She's not listening. Excellent, that's good news. Nolan Siding says, breaking news, Zoe Kirk-Robinson enjoys video games. Also in other news, water is found to be wet and the sun is also hot. Oh really, Mr. North End Sidings? Well, if water is... you can't! Jen is now shouting that I can't outrun her. But Mr. North End Sidings there, I have a question for you. If water is wet and the sun is hot, how come water still exists when the sun is shining? And if you believe any of that, I've got a bridge to sell you. He also says it's true. No matter how many times I slap a cow, it never drops gold coins. Don't slap cows. My goodness. Okay, I don't see any more of the... any more questions, so I think we will call it at that, because I have really enjoyed tonight, and I hope you have too. It's been a great show. I've loved having you here with me, so thank you so much, guys, and I will see you next time. Have a great night, and just think, stay safe. We're almost through the pandemic. We'll be back soon. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye. I've got to remember where the button is. See you later, guys. Bye. Wait. It's the button that I can't find it. Let me just beatbox for a little bit until I find it. I can't beatbox.